An American tourist in Paris demanded the Louvre install air conditioning because sweating while viewing art is unconstitutional. He cited the Eighth Amendment's prohibition of cruel and unusual punishment. When staff explained the museum maintains specific temperature controls to preserve 500-year-old paintings, he suggested they just make copies and put the originals in storage with AC. He offered to write a letter to the French president about American climate expectations. The museum director told him the Mona Lisa had survived worse than his discomfort. And that's the thing. These stories aren't random. I track cultural clashes like this full-time, so you don't have to. If you care about the deeper psychology behind why Americans act this way abroad, this channel is where that gets decoded. Subscribe, because understanding culture is way better than just watching it crash. A woman in Rome refused to pay the cover charge at a restaurant because in America, bread is free and she has constitutional dining rights. She claimed charging for table service violates the free enterprise system. When the waiter explained this is standard practice in Italy, she pulled out a printed copy of the Declaration of Independence and began reading the part about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. She said happiness includes unlimited bread baskets. The waiter brought her the bill anyway. A man in London complained that driving on the left side of the road gave him directional dyslexia. He insisted his American driver's license exempted him from British traffic laws because of international driving sovereignty. When a police officer pulled him over, he explained that his brain is wired for right-side driving and forcing him to adapt is neurological discrimination. He had a note from his chiropractor confirming his spinal alignment only works with American-style roads. The officer impounded his rental car. A tourist in Amsterdam tried to pay for a bike rental with a personal check from her Kansas bank. When told they only accept cards or cash, she said paper checks are more secure, and that's why America invented them. She claimed digital payments are how the government tracks your freedom. When the shop owner said they haven't accepted checks in 15 years, she offered to explain how the American banking system is more advanced. She asked if they'd heard of Benjamin Franklin. The owner charged her phone instead and called it even. A family in Barcelona demanded their hotel room come with a clothes dryer because air drying is for medieval peasants. The father explained Americans have evolved past waiting for nature to dry things. When the concierge said they could use the drying rack provided, he asked if Spain had electricity yet. He offered to pay extra for a machine installation and said he'd leave it as a gift to modernize the country. His wife took photos of the drying rack to show their friends back home how Europe lives. They checked out a day early. A woman at a German train station insisted the schedule was wrong because trains can't actually arrive on time that consistently. She said the posted times must be estimates like in America. When her train arrived exactly at the scheduled minute, she accused them of manipulating the station clocks. She timed the next 3 trains with her phone to prove German punctuality was propaganda. All 3 arrived precisely on schedule. She said her phone must be broken from European frequencies. This is what fascinates me. How belief can overpower evidence. Most people laugh at stories like this, but subscribers here study them. They want to understand why this mindset keeps repeating. If that's your kind of curiosity, you belong here. A man in Prague tried to use a coupon he printed from a website for a completely different restaurant in Ohio. When told it wasn't valid, he explained that capitalism means honoring all competitor coupons everywhere. He claimed restricting coupons by location violates the spirit of free market economics. When the manager said this was a Czech business with no connection to American chain restaurants, he accused them of discrimination against promotional materials. He suggested they call the Ohio restaurant to verify the coupon's legitimacy. The manager gave him free dessert to leave faster. A tourist in Athens demanded a refund from the Acropolis because it was older and more ruined than the photos online. She said the Parthenon looked better on Google Images, and that's false advertising. When the guide explained it was built in 432 BC and has since experienced some weather. She said that's not her problem as a paying customer. She expected restoration to photo shoot quality before visitors arrive. Her husband suggested they rebuild it with more durable materials like the ones America uses for monuments. They'd been in Greece for 4 hours. A woman in Stockholm complained that the sun not setting in summer gave her chronological anxiety. She insisted her body only recognizes darkness-based bedtimes. When her hotel manager explained the midnight sun is a natural phenomenon in northern latitudes, she asked why they don't just install giant shutters over the city. She said in America they control daylight hours more reasonably. She'd brought melatonin pills, but they don't work when the sky is mocking her internal clock. She demanded a room in the basement with no windows for authentic nighttime. A man at a Swiss restaurant sent back his fondue because it was just melted cheese with no protein innovation. He wanted them to add chicken nuggets to make it a complete meal. When the chef explained fondue is a traditional dish served as intended for centuries, he said traditions are why Europe is stuck in the past. He suggested they rebrand it as cheese sauce and charge less since it's not technically cooking. His wife ordered a salad and asked if they could make it more American by adding ranch dressing and bacon bits. The chef pretended not to speak English for the rest of their visit. A tourist in Ireland refused to accept that castles don't have Wi-Fi as a historical feature. He said internet access is a basic human right, established by the UN. When the tour guide explained the castle was built in 1180 and maintaining historical integrity means no modern installations, he asked how people in medieval times checked their email. He suggested running cables through the stone walls wouldn't hurt anything that old. His daughter complained she couldn't post to Instagram from the dungeon. He left a 1-star review citing poor connectivity in a residence that predates electricity by 700 years. Woman in Brussels tried to return a chocolate she'd already eaten because it had too much cocoa and not enough sugar, like American chocolate. She presented the empty wrapper as proof of purchase. When the shopkeeper said all sales are final, especially for consumed products, she explained that in America, the customer is always right even after digestion. She offered detailed feedback on how they could reformulate their recipes to appeal to real chocolate lovers. She said Belgian chocolate is overrated when it doesn't taste like Hershey's. The shopkeeper gave her a free sample to leave. She ate it and complained again. A man in Copenhagen demanded his hotel install a garbage disposal in the bathroom sink because his electric toothbrush needs somewhere to drain properly. He explained American bathrooms have superior drainage technology for oral hygiene residue. When housekeeping explained that's not how any plumbing works anywhere, he said Denmark must be behind on bathroom innovation. He showed them videos on his phone of garbage disposals to help them understand modern living. He asked if they'd heard of InSync Aerator, the American company that revolutionized food waste. They moved him to a different room and told maintenance to avoid him. A tourist in Vienna complained that all the museums were full of old paintings instead of interactive screens like American museums have. She said Europe needs to modernize their cultural institutions with touch displays and virtual reality. When a curator explained they preserve original artworks from masters like Klimt and Schiele, she suggested scanning everything and projecting it digitally so people can zoom in on their phones. She said her kids learn better from tablets anyway. Her son was touching a 400-year-old frame while she said this. Security followed them for the rest of their visit. A woman in Scotland refused to believe the Loch Ness Monster wasn't real and demanded a tour boat take her to Nessie's exact location. She'd paid for the full experience, which she assumed included guaranteed sightings. When the captain explained it's a legend and tours show you the loch's natural beauty, she said, "That's false advertising." She showed him a photo from 1934 as proof of the monster's coordinates. She'd brought a waterproof camera specifically rated for cryptid documentation. She asked for the Marine Biology Department's phone number to report their incompetence. The captain gave her a toy Nessie from the gift shop. A man in Portugal tried to haggle at a grocery store because he saw it on a travel blog about Morocco. When the cashier said prices are fixed, he explained that negotiation is how global commerce works. He offered 60% of the marked price for his bread and cheese, citing his status as an international customer. When she scanned his items at full price, he asked to speak to someone who understands economics. He said in America, they have something called competitive pricing. The manager came over and the man showed him the blog post from the wrong country. He paid full price but left insulted. A tourist in Greece tried to expense her entire vacation through her employer because she ate at restaurants with Greek salads, which taught her about Mediterranean culture. She claimed international dietary exposure counts as professional development. When her company denied the claim, she argued that consuming authentic cuisine is equivalent to a business seminar on cultural competency. She submitted itemized receipts with educational justifications for each meal. One receipt said, "Studied olive oil production methods through practical tasting application." Her HR department created a new policy specifically addressing her creative interpretations of work expenses. She tried again the next year with French wine. A woman in Belgium demanded they repaint all the buildings in Bruges to more Instagram-friendly colors. She said the medieval brown tones don't photograph well with her aesthetic. When a local explained the city is a UNESCO World Heritage Site with protected architecture, she suggested they could use temporary paint that washes off after tourist season. She'd created a Pinterest board of what she called improved heritage colors, featuring pastels. She offered to consult on the rebranding for free since she has 600 followers. The tourism office thanked her for visiting and suggested she try Disneyland next time. A man in Norway complained that the northern lights weren't bright enough for his camera phone. He said the aurora should be visible in daylight for all-day viewing opportunities. When the guide explained it's a natural phenomenon that only occurs in darkness, with specific atmospheric conditions, he suggested they install LED strips in the sky for off-season tourists. He compared it to Times Square, which solves the visibility problem with artificial lights. He asked why Norway doesn't invest in infrastructure like America does. His wife was upset they'd paid for an experience that depends on nature's schedule. They demanded a partial refund for inadequate luminosity. A tourist in Spain tried to order Mexican food at a tapas bar because they both speak Spanish. When the waiter said, "This is a Spanish restaurant serving Spanish cuisine," she explained that it's all the same since the language connects them. She asked for nachos with a side of paella to make it fusion. When he brought traditional tapas, she sent it back, asking where the cheese dip was. She told her husband that European restaurants don't understand their own food culture. She found a McDonald's later and said it was the most authentic meal she'd had all week. She posted a review warning Americans that Spain doesn't serve real Spanish food. A woman in Italy demanded a restaurant provide ranch dressing for her pizza, because in America they understand customer preferences. She'd brought her own bottle in her purse as backup when they said they don't have ranch. When the waiter looked horrified, she explained that innovation is how America became great, and Italy should learn from modern flavor combinations. She poured ranch directly onto a margarita pizza while making eye contact with the chef. Her husband asked if they could get the pizza reheated because the ranch made it cold. The chef came out of the kitchen, looked at her plate, crossed himself, and walked back without speaking. She left a tip in pennies she'd converted from dollars, specifically for this purpose. A man in France tried to return a beret he'd worn for 3 days because it didn't make him look more French like the store promised. He said the product failed to deliver its implied cultural transformation benefits. When the shopkeeper explained clothing doesn't change your nationality, he showed her photos of himself wearing it at various landmarks as evidence of false advertising. He'd specifically bought it to blend in with locals, and people kept speaking English to him anyway. He demanded either a refund or a French lesson package to complete the look. The shopkeeper asked him to leave in French. He didn't understand and asked if she could repeat that in American. A tourist in Amsterdam tried to pay her hotel bill in Monopoly money because she thought Dutch currency looked fake anyway. When the receptionist explained euros are legal tender used by 19 countries, she said all foreign money looks like board game pieces to real Americans. She offered to convert it using an exchange rate she calculated based on how colorful the bills were. When they insisted on actual euros, she said, "This is why America keeps the dollar strong and simple." She paid with her credit card, but asked them to charge her in dollars, so she'd know what she's really spending. The conversion fee was more than her room rate. She called her bank to dispute it as international fraud. A woman in Switzerland complained that the Alps were too pointy and needed to be filed down for safety reasons. She said American mountains have more reasonable peaks that don't look so threatening. When a park ranger explained that's the natural shape of mountains formed by tectonic plates, she suggested they at least put warning signs about the aggressive geometry. She'd seen the Rockies and said those mountains understood how to be majestic without being extra about it. Her husband wanted to speak to whoever was in charge of mountain maintenance. The ranger gave them a trail map and highlighted the flattest path. They took a cable car instead and complained about the angle of ascent the entire way up.